GADV everyone. This is something I sort of wanted to make a video on for quite some time now, but until now I did not feel I was able to properly articulate it. Many viewers may remember when the Brony community first started, there were a lot of videos that tried to explain why the show was so appealing. But if you ask me, there was something that they missed, and the thing that they missed was the use of moral realism in MLP. Let me explain. Moral realism is, essentially, the belief that good and evil are things that exist, as opposed to moral anti-realism, which says that they don't. These are oversimplifications as well, and I would suggest looking deeper into them if interested, but for now, these work for what I'm trying to say. If one looks at the show, you will see that, at least on a meta level, moral realism is something the writers put into the show with the typical friendship is good kind of deal, and fighting villains that would tend to embody typical villain characteristics mixed with, usually, anti-friendship themes or what have you. I bring this up because most children's media uses some sort of moral realism, or at least the educational ones that aim to teach you morals do, and odds are most people watching this video probably grew up being a fan of one or two shows like that, be it a cartoon, sitcom, or what have you. But sometimes it seems that we come back to these shows and realized, with an older and more experienced point of view, that it doesn't really stand up to the test of time per se. The show may be condescending in its moral delivery, or perhaps fail in other departments that currently only make you enjoy it either nostalgically and or ironically. This ties back to MLP because I feel its execution of its particular brand of moral realism, mixed with nostalgia, may be an overlooked reason why we like it so much, at least for some of us. It appears to avoid the problems usually attached to moral realism in media, and again, at least usually. After all, most of the bronies one usually meets tend to enjoy the show unironically. The reason this comes into play is that it may remind some of us of the media we used to enjoy without our more skeptical eyes or jaded minds getting in the way. If we continue to entertain this idea, then it can also work into the idea of the show being some kind of optimistic offset to the other types of media usually enjoyed by high schoolers and up in this day and age. Cynical media is not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it can appeal to more of us as an age group because we are often the ones it's usually written for, and is usually more complex. But sometimes we want a more simplistic good versus evil story that is not really made to rock your cortex, as much as I love those. This may account for the rise in popularity of certain things like Pacific Rim or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and of course MLP. They present an X is good and Y is evil sort of setup, but they usually are not compromised by writing blunders and are still generally considered good. They serve as a demonstration that simple is not necessarily bad. Typical writing blunders include how, when one is older, morals become questionable as one is more likely or able to see how the moral may be compromised, and you may find that the supposedly good or sympathetic protagonists or characters have lost your sympathy because of what you have now noticed and how you have changed over the years. But just because of the shoddy executions of such themes generally does not mean we have grown tired of these things, as with the aforementioned Pacific Rim, Marvel, and MLP, which I believe demonstrate this rather well. There are countless videos on how MLP's characters are all well written and various wonderful aspects of the writing of the episode plots in general, even here on DRWolf's channel, so I will not reiterate them here. But despite its optimistic and at least surface level simplicity, the Brony fandom can at least enjoy it unironically, as mentioned before. When one looks to the analysis community for these reviews and the opinions on the morals, they're usually in agreement that they tend to be good morals, or teaching something good, outside of, again, a few episodes, like say Mysterious Ne'er-Do-Well or Feeling Pinky Keen, where there's some controversy. But again, generally, it doesn't fall into the pitfall of having bad morals, at least as far as the analysis community is concerned with most episodes, and most people. Either way, this is merely an idea. I hope you enjoyed it and perhaps it got you thinking. This has been the Aeon. Have a nice day, and thanks to DRWolf for this wonderful opportunity.